So in this video, we're going to talk to you about things we wish we knew when we started our bookkeeping practices.
So many things. But I think one of the first things that I would say we need to mention is that you don't have to take on any client, because when you start off, you're just desperate for that first client, aren't you? You just want a client. But actually be really careful, because if you are good at your job, which we know you are, if you're good at your job, if you're going to support these clients, they could be with you for years and years and years. And you've got to remember that. Do you like them as a person? Do they sit with your values? Do you like the industry that they're in? Are you interested in who they are and what they do? Do you like the work that they're asking you to do? Really take that into consideration, because you could be doing this for month in, month out for a very long time.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think if it's just something that doesn't bring you joy and you're going to wake up. So I think in those early days, yeah, we're tempted to take on any client. If someone says, I need my bookkeeping done, I'll pay you to do it. It's really tempting to say, yeah, okay, I'll do it. And then they explain some horrible, convoluted process that you're going to have to do. And you have to do it on a Monday, Wednesday and Friday, because that's the way they like things to be done. And you always have to do this spreadsheet. If that fills you with horror, the idea when you're sitting in the call and you're thinking, oh, if I have to, that is definitely a sign you don't need to take this client on. There will be another client. You don't have to work for every
Listen
business.
to your gut. Your gut will tell you everything. And I wish I was a bit more intuitive when I started, and listen to that rather than thinking about the bank balance. So absolutely go and, with people with integrity that have your same values and that you enjoy the work. You don't have to say yes to everything. And actually the next thing we're going to talk about is a bit the same. You don't have to say yes to everything.
Yeah.
Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. Now this can be taken in quite a few ways. So just because you can do self-assessment tax returns doesn't mean you should do them. Maybe that's not right for your business model. Just because you can write sales copy for websites doesn't mean it should be your job. Maybe you should be doing something else. But also, we want to talk about something called scope creep, where clients ask you to do a little bit more here and a little bit more there. And if they keep asking you to do that and you're not charging, then you're not earning. Your profit margin's going down and down and down. And this is something I really wish I knew about, because I used to say, yes, I'm going to charge you this, and they'd say fine, and then they'd say the next month, oh, could you just do this, and could you just do that? And I felt scared to say, well, that's going to cost you more.
Yeah.
So I used to just do it, and scope creep will kill any business.
I think it's really tempting as well if someone says to you, we get this a lot with bookkeepers, it's people often ask you, well, actually, could you do a bit of admin for me as well? Because they see it as the same, like it's kind of there's a lot of going through emails, looking for invoices and that kind of thing. And then if they see that as, well, hang on a minute, you might be able to do some more work for me. Be really mindful of that, because we can actually dilute what we're doing. Aren't you better to go out and be a specialist at doing one thing really well? If you are tempted to bring those kind of other services in, you are probably tempted to go off and do some more training and learn about something else, and all of that is taking away from the bookkeeping business that you want to build. I think it's important to become an expert at the thing that you're offering and really focus on that. And yeah, sure, okay, there might be complementary services that could really help your clients, and perhaps that is a revenue opportunity for you. So you're thinking, well, this is going to bring some money in, but it doesn't have to be you. It might be under the umbrella of your business, but you're not necessarily the person that needs to do it. So it might be that you bring someone else in who can do that work for you, or actually you have an arrangement with somebody outside of your business where they give you a referrals fee. That is then passive income for you in your business. So think of other ways. If there's other stuff that's coming up, does it really belong in your business? Should you really be giving it to your client? Are you charging for it properly? And actually, does it fit with you at all anyway?
Absolutely. And I think that leads us really nicely to the next one about setting expectations. And expectations need to be set across the board. So yes, don't just say yes to everything. And I think this starts right at the beginning when you're talking through a proposal. You need to be very clear that this happens in the sales process, setting expectations. You need to be saying, I am doing this for you and you are paying me for this. And And then maybe in that you have to say, I'm available Monday to Friday, or, I don't work after 2:30 because I go on the school run. So if you send me an email after 2:30, I will come back to you the next day. Something like that. You do need to set these expectations. I've in the past been on the phone on Sundays. I used to, when I wasn't virtual, and people used to drop paperwork off to my door. They used to be at my front door on a Sunday, and I'd be thinking, oh my goodness, this is my family time. So set those expectations. But another thing, a really big thing, is setting the expectation that you might not be the person that's always doing the work. Now, you might be the only person in your business at the moment, and so you're the only person doing the work. But down the line, you might want to take on staff. So be very clear. So use terminology like me and my team. It might just be you, but it helps them to understand that it's not always going to be just you. I felt like I was getting divorced with all my clients when I tried to, pass them down to other members of staff, and I felt so bad, and I thought, no one's going to do the same job as me, but actually all my staff do a much better job than me. So actually it was better for my clients, and they're more than happy. But about setting those expectations, and even if you're saying the sales call, at the moment it's just me, but I'm taking on more staff later on. So later on you might have somebody else supporting you. And I think if you say that right at the beginning, it makes it such an easier conversation when it comes around to that time.
Absolutely. And another thing that I wish I'd thought of right at the beginning is not to charge an hourly rate. That I think is probably one of the biggest challenges for bookkeepers, because probably when you're starting your business, you're coming from employment. So you're probably used to being paid for an hour of work. You go into your office or wherever you work and you get paid for an hour of what you've been doing. We really have to move away from that right at the beginning, because if you're going to set your business up to, well, do you know what? If you're just going to cover the cost of life, you need to see that you're going to have holidays, you're going to have time off, and that doesn't get covered by your hourly rate, for starters. But also, when you grow a team and you've got overheads, what are you going to do when your hourly rate doesn't help you out with anything like that? So we need to set our businesses up from day one, focus on the value we're providing to our clients, rather than charging an hourly rate, which undoubtedly is probably going to be a low hourly rate at the beginning as well.
Yeah, and as well, if you think about hourly rates, whenever you go on holiday or anything like that, you're going to be penalised because you haven't worked those hours. Whereas if you set up a monthly retainer fee, then it means that you are going to have basically that income every single month. And it doesn't matter if one month you have to do more hours than another, you're focusing on the outcome and the results that you need to provide for your client. And they're looking at that as well, not looking at how many hours has she done for me this month.
Yeah. And finally, just going back to that idea about foundations and thinking about what you want your business to look like in the future, really, really important to think bigger. Think of your business as more than you being a freelancer. Really see, I know this is hard when you start a business, because we've done this too. I started out as a freelance bookkeeper. I really thought that I'd earn a bit of money on the side. I thought of it as my side hustle, but I really think we have to step into the idea of owning a bigger business, which can do more for us. And if you think about how any of the big businesses that you work with, anyone that you buy something for, what kind of teams and departments do they have? You need to think of your business as having those departments too, and start to lay the right foundations for growth.
Yeah, and even if you are the head of each department on day one and you're wearing all these different hats, someone has to wear those hats, and it will be you. But if you get used to the fact that there will be maybe some support that you could outsource to a VA, or maybe you can get a junior in or another part-time bookkeeper, you'll start seeing that, thinking of your business with all these departments and thinking, right, that person could be in charge of that now, and that person could be in charge of that, and that will really help you to grow. Now, we're not saying everybody wants multi-million-pound bookkeeping practices. We're not saying that. But if you don't set up with the right foundations, and even if it's going to be you with maybe a couple of subcontractors, if you don't start out with that in mind at the beginning, you'll have to unwind it all later on. So set out with the future in mind.
I really hope that's given you some ideas of things to think about if you're starting your bookkeeping practice. So really try and think about the future. What do you want this business to look like? How can you grow? Even if it's tiny steps right now, how can you get this business ready to grow? Please don't charge an hourly rate. Please think of a better way of pricing. Be aware that you don't have to do everything. Look out for that scope creep and set the expectations with your clients.